welcome to the AeroDef Manufacturing Dialogue series. And as we all know, the Indian aerospace industry is growing rapidly thanks to the support from government, the FDI is coming from the global OEMs, and also the investment from the Indian conglomerates. The industry is growing rapidly, and this thing has also given birth to so many startups who are making some of the critical components for largest OEMs, whether it's for the aircraft or for the engines. And one such startup is Jeh Aerospace, led by Mr. Vishal Sanghavi, who is founder and CEO of the company, who is with us today to discuss about what are the opportunities in the Indian aerospace industry, the readiness of Indian MSMEs, and what kind of policy support we are looking at from the government. Vishal, thank you so much for joining us today.
Nishan, thank you so much for having me here.
So, Vishalji, I believe that you started this company, J Aerospace, 3 years back, and before that, you have spent years in the aerospace industry. So, I'm sure you must have seen some huge opportunity. That's why you started this company. So, what are you most excited about regarding the Indian aerospace industry? What kind of opportunities you are looking at?
Yeah, no, so Nishant, if as you rightly said, I was fortunate to work with various ventures during last decade and a half. Be it the Boeing's joint venture in India, or the Sikorsky joint venture in India, or the Lockheed Martin's joint venture in India. In
Right.
a way, in my past roles, I played a key role in unlocking the India's potential for these large OEMs and help them, get value out of India. Of course, in exchange, I was also fortunate to learn from some of the best people in the industry, right? Boeing, Lockheed, Sikorsky, GE, Pilatus, Rolls-Royce, and understood that what aerospace manufacturing industry is like, what are its needs, what are its nuances, how is it different, how is it more stringent, etc. And of course, I mean, there's some very large scale work for each of them. In Tata Boeing, I used to manufacture, the fuselages for Apache helicopters, global single source. Used to manufacture the vertical fin for 737, which is a flight critical component. In Tata Lockheed Martin, set it up to manufacture the empennage for C-130 Super Hercules. In Sikorsky J, we manufactured all kind of detailed components, machined, sheet metal fab, tubes and pipes, so on and so forth. And so did my co-founder Venki. Venki had a similar journey like mine, was one of the youngest head of operations in the Tata Group aerospace. So again, I think between us, we saw this industry up and close. And then something happened. Of course, there were two back-to-back Black Swan events that came. One was the crash of the 737 MAX, which kind of grounded the entire 737 fleet. And then when you thought nothing can go further wrong, we had the COVID. Now what happened effectively was that during these time frame the demand went down south, and as a result of it, I mean, there was a huge stress in the entire industry. A lot of people were laid off, a lot of shops shut down their operations, so to say. No, that was one part of it. And at that point in time, your mind starts working. But what happened thereafter was even more interesting. I mean, the demand bounced back like there was no COVID before, right? It bounced back with vengeance. But the supply could not. It's easy to lay off people, but far more difficult to get them again. It is relatively easier to shut down shops, but way more difficult to start the new ones.
Right.
So while we already had a huge demand supply gap in the past, this significantly accentuated. And we realized that while as when we were in the Tata Group, we unlocked this potential for these large OEMs. There is a huge market out there for the tier one and tier two manufacturers. And how should people like us, the opportunity is so huge. How should we, do it? And that was the birth of the idea of J Aerospace, is to serve, a lot of these tier one, tier two manufacturers from US, from Europe. And of course, the tailwinds are with us. India is in such a great place, as you said, right at the beginning of your introduction. We are the fastest growing airline industry. Historically, it has been seen that the aerospace industry, in a way, follows the growth in the airline industry. In terms of
Right.
aerospace manufacturing, we have significantly grown. We are the fastest growing industry. We are still very small at a global
Yeah.
scale, but we are, fastest growing. We have the potential in terms of manpower, in terms of capabilities, and I think it's time that we unlock it.
Right, right. So, thanks for setting the, tone for the whole conversation. So when you started the company, so we all know that, aerospace industry is very hard to crack. It's not like some other industry where, because this industry demands 100% precision and also a lot on, documentations, compliances and all. And even there is this saying in the industry that sometimes the document weight is higher than the part weight, right? So how does the MSMEs navigate these kind of things? Like, because they are not very much familiar with the documentation part of it. I understand in your part because you come from this industry, you have spent like 15 years. So how did you navigated these things and what were the initial challenges for companies like yours, like a startup in the aerospace industry?
Right. So two-part question, right? I think even more than the precision, I think, the most important thing in this industry is credibility,
Okay.
because you need to develop credibility so that someone can trust you with the kind of components. And as you know, I mean, the repercussions can be really severe. We just had a very unfortunate incident very
Right.
recently, right? So,
Right.
so we know the repercussions of it and why this industry is so sensitive and so precision conscious and quality conscious and documentation and traceability conscious. So there is, of course, the reason behind it. Now, how does an MSME or kind of traverse it?
Okay.
So I think from our standpoint, one, we have to first change our mindset. I think in India, sometimes our definition of quality can be quite fluid. In India, you manufacture some of the best medicines, vaccines that serve to 60-70% of global requirements. These are all
Right.
life critical. So India can manufacture very precision items, right? This is
Right.
in medicine industry, but the same can apply in manufacturing industry. So the mindset is there, but then there are other places in India, as you know, and sometimes some of the Western customers may end up having a bad experiences where we have these entire very kind of it's okay kind of a mindset, as we say, chalta hai, and that will not work in this industry. So first of
Exactly.
all, we need to embrace genuinely that quality is paramount. And let me rephrase it: quality and safety are paramount, and everything else can kind of succeed it. I mean, the cost, the throughputs, the deliveries, everything can, be of the second grade. Once we accept this mindset, then we start developing teams. If we start
Right.
getting right teams in place, then we start developing right processes. Once you
Okay.
have start processes in place, right, then you can audit it, ensure that they are being followed, and the outputs that you are delivering internally and to your customer are in compliance to customers requirements, to AS9100 requirements, to NEDCAP requirements, so on and so forth, and maybe sometimes even OEM requirements. So just to kind of summarize, one, there is a need, there is a reason why this industry has so many layers of requirements. The second is that if we have the right leadership mindset, we have the right people, and then we set up the right processes, those three things put together, and always having a close look with what output we are delivering, so that
Yeah.
you change any mindset, process, or outcomes that are needed.
Talking about growth in the industry, government has to play a huge role. So, as a startup in this industry, what are your expectations and or what kind of role do you expect government to play to boost the overall supply chain of aerospace manufacturing in India, specifically when it comes to MSMEs?
Yes, so I think twofold answer. One is our personal mindset. See, we have, in a way, grown up in the Tata Group. So our approach always was that, think of what you can do.
Right. Right.
Don't keep on asking, relying on something external. Government is dealing with so many priorities. You may fall within it, you may not fall within it, and that's all okay. I think, but
Right.
what can government do from a small and medium enterprise standpoint? I mean, for example, I think there is a significant production linked incentive that has been given to a
Yeah.
lot of critical industry, rightly so, electronics, drones, etc. I think a similar structure can easily be extended to aerospace and defense manufacturing, considering that it is so critical, it is advanced manufacturing, it is absolutely within the dimensions of Make in India and Viksit Bharat, right?
Right.
So to say. And also the recent events on the borders also kind of re-emphasize the need for our Indian
Mhm.
manufacturing industry to rise up.
Right, right, right. So, PLI scheme for the aerospace component manufacturing is very much in the need.
Absolutely. I think, I think, again, see, the production link incentive, the government has to decide. It has to place its bet on critical sectors that they think are important for India's growth. I mean, just
Right.
not now talking as a J Aerospace, but just as an Indian between you
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I,
understood. Yeah,
aerospace and defense is definitely an area that, India can, get better at manufacturing.
right.
And something like this, a positive measure can help everyone
I
in
think in
business.
defense, we have seen so many policies and schemes are there, so many like defense corridors and defense procurement policies, and there has been a good progress on the self-sustainability as well. But when it comes to aerospace, I think we are still lagging behind because, as you rightly said, if I'm not wrong, India as a market for commercial aircraft is about 12-13%. But when it comes to our share in the supply chain, we are hardly 1% or something,
That's right. Very,
right? So,
very true.
what kind of policy? Because I think here maybe government has to play some role to put some offset policy the way we have done for the defense. So that kind of thing government can do, right? So, what's your take on that?
See, my perspective is that one is the offset policy, but on the commercial aerospace, that is a very difficult thing to implement because eventually in India now today, you have all the airlines which are none of them are government run. So effectively, you have all airlines which are run by private slash public
Private.
organizations in a way. So for you to now make policies that I mean that they have to implement with the OEMs like Airbus and Boeing might become very difficult. I
Right.
think we should probably I think the world needs India for manufacturing. In aerospace manufacturing, it needs even more. If you open up any report from Boeing, Airbus, GE, Rolls-Royce, their biggest challenge is supply chain constraints. So we don't need any offset policy per se. What we should probably help Indian manufacturers that one, how do they rise up to deliver what is needed? Because if you can't deliver what is needed to the customer, it doesn't matter what kind of incentives are given. And the
Right.
second thing that we need to do is that become just significantly keep improving that which the government is doing. Keep improving the ease of doing business, entering into India, foreign direct investments, provide production linked incentives, so on and so forth for these industry, so that then there are enough entrepreneurs, be it at the startup level, be it at the small and medium enterprise level, or be it at the corporate level, who will then take this up and grow.
So let's assume, let's not wait for the offset policy, but let's assume that these OEMs, like the ones you named, Boeing, Airbus, Lockheed Martin, GE, Rolls-Royce, they want to increase their sourcing from India. Let's say they want to do it 2x of what they are doing. Are we ready? Do you think the Indian manufacturing community, right from tier one to tier three suppliers, are we ready in terms of capacity and capability both and skill as well to serve these companies? Or do we
See,
still need to travel some extra, years to get to that level?
I think, see, first of all, if you actually will ask someone in Boeing or Airbus, they probably have gone 5x in last 5 years. That's my assessment.
Right,
So, and earlier it was way more service heavy, but now it has started becoming manufacturing heavy.
right.
So I'm quite convinced it's already happening. The Airbus and the Boeings of the world are already 5xing, their procurement
Interesting.
from India. In terms of are we ready or not? See, a lot of time it's a chicken and egg kind of a thing. You get an opportunity, you get more opportunity, and then it's a positive loop that keeps expanding, right? So I don't think that we need to wait, and I think that people are now betting on us. I think we just need to do a damn good job of delivering quality parts on time consistently. I think if we just make that as a mantra, there is nothing fancy that is needed in this industry. It's just about delivering quality parts on time consistently. And as long as we, as an individual company, and we as an industry are able to do it, by our own merit, we will continue to expand.
You said quality, consistency, and on-time delivery. So I think for this you need a few things like, the materials and the machines. Like for example, 5-axis machine and some of the aerospace grade materials are all being imported. Then second layer you need is a skill in India, skilled manpower, right? So when it comes to these machines and materials, these are all imported, right? Most of these are. Of course, there are some development in Indian meals are also getting approved, but most of it are still getting imported. Can we demand or can we ask the government to reduce the duties of some of these critical materials and machines that may make us more competitive among the global suppliers, like let's say China, Vietnam, or any other countries, Turkeys and all?
Technically, if you see Nishant today, assuming that we are talking about export work, because whatever, if we are talking about manufacturing components, most of them are exported, right? Because the
Right.
final aircrafts engines are made either in US or in Europe,
Americans.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, for that reason, anyways, through multiple schemes that the government has, the customs duty in on the capital equipment, as well as the customs duty on export of material or import of material, you don't have to pay.
Right. Okay.
So from to the extent of export related work, we are in a good place based on the existing policies that the government has.
And when it comes to skilled manpower, how do you rate the Indian skilled manpower, and what are your opinion to make it even better? Like, how can companies and academia partner and create more aerospace ready engineers?
So one, first of all, we are blessed with definitely the quantity of manpower. A lot of
Of
countries
course.
today are struggling to have youngsters, people joining manufacturing.
Right. Right.
So first of all, we need to first appreciate the strength that we have, is that we really have smart young engineers at ITI level, at diploma level, and at engineering
Engineering.
level who are
Right.
joining by huge numbers into our workforce. And
Right.
of course, where we are, I think there is a genuine desire and ambition amongst each of these young people to grow. Today, if you walk down a shop in any of the Western country, probably the average age over there would be 55 years and
Of course.
northwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have the raw material, right? I mean, in a way. Now, in terms of skilling them, there are two levels, right? One is that how can we continue to improve our trade schools like ITR diplomas, so that they impart more and more industry relevant, experience, industry relevant knowledge to these people. But what I'll tell you, what we have done, so to say. So as you said that, right, we are startup, we are 2.5, 3 years old organization, but based on our past experience, we had this deep insight that developing a great talent is not something that you can outsource to someone else.
Right.
We need to do it ourselves. So, on our investments, one of the first things that we did was that we developed our own in house captive training center, which
Okay.
people go through theory training, practical training, and on job training before they in a way come out and start manufacturing parts for these global OEMs for aerospace. And I mean, we launched it just in April this year, so to say. So we have, kind of given, what we have done is that we have made it closed loop with our production flow. So
Right.
what now is happening, that anything that we find in the production floor, through the relentless root cause corrective action process, it is implemented in our training center as well. So we are doing some of those things that Whatever is most important for you, don't try to outsource it. Keep it with you. Take responsibility of it and do a damn good job on it.
So I think we have just 5, 7 minutes more. We'll discuss a little bit on the technologies and what kind of manufacturing technologies you are using or you seen the word that's coming up. For example, Industry 4.0, digital twin, and AI is also taking shape in the shop floor level. So according to you, what kind of infrastructures are needed to serve or make some of the critical parts for the aerospace industry?
So if you one thing, and maybe Nishant, if you are following us on LinkedIn, you would have seen that one of our mantra is talent cross technology equal to transformation. That if you want to bring real transformation, we need to unlock both talent and technology part of it. Talent we already spoke about in detail. On the technology front, Nishant, if you were to break it down, it is operations technology and digital technology. In terms of the operations technology, the kind of equipments, the kind of CNC machines, the kind of CMM, the kind of tool presetters that we are using, we have bringing truly state of the art.
Right.
Because when you are manufacturing the most precise components that are ever manufactured on the face of the earth, you want to ensure that you are manufacturing it with some of the best equipments that are available at your disposal. So one thing is we are doing that. All of these equipments, by the way, are IoT, Internet
Enabled,
of
yes.
Things, Industry 4.0 enabled, where the edge computing and seamless transfer of data of various parameters of a machine can be done. So that in itself unlocks a lot of value that you can do through digital and hopefully with AI. On the digital side, Nishant, a lot of companies struggle and talk about digital transformations, moving their processes into a digital landscape. Today, we are end-to-end digital. We are a
Okay.
paperless factory.
Okay.
So the concerns that you mentioned at the right at the beginning of our conversations about documentation and the weight of we have zero weight of documentation because all our
Mm.
documents are digital. Everything is connected, so the datas are really pulled from your databases. So most of the documentation is kind of filled it by themselves, and only limited things like signing and things of that sort. Even those are done digitally. So our entire product lifecycle management, ERP, manufacturing execution system, end to end is digital. And I think
Digitized.
that is going to set us significantly apart as we grow in this industry and in country.
Just last question from my side. What would be your suggestions? Maybe two questions, I would say. One is that how can this whole ecosystem, right, from OEM to tier three manufacturers, work together, collaborate to, enhance the overall capability of the industry? What kind of expectations or support you need from the OEMs? Because in automotive industry, we know that the Indian automotive industry is a success story, right? So there, the whole ecosystem work together to enhance the capability of the Indian MSMEs and the supply chain industry. So what kind of expectation you may have from the OEMs and tier one suppliers?
So, see, let us first acknowledge that they have done a great job. I mean, all these guys, the Boeings, the Lockheeds, the GE, the Airbus, if you see over a period of time, they have approved so many suppliers in the India ecosystem for various special processes, anodizing, chem milling, painting, different types of plating.
Right.
So, one, they have helped us unlock some of those, right? Without their approvals, a lot of these couldn't have had happened in India. So that is one thing. What is the second biggest thing you want from the OEMs is that opportunities, demand from them. Again, I think to their credit, over the last 10 years, they have played a key role in significantly multiplying the demand that they are kind of procuring out of India, because at the end of the day, without them, there would be no opportunity. So we should be grateful to them, for putting that confidence in us. And at the same time, the credit goes to the India ecosystem, where they have been delivering and staying true to its commitments. The third thing also, if you mentioned of the automotive example, a lot of these OEMs have themselves either created joint ventures in India, or they have in a way set up their own captive engineering center, so on and so forth, or R&D center. So I think they are doing already a very good job around it, and then it is collaborative, right? I mean, none of this happens in silos by itself. so to say. Now what they can keep, I think they should just keep doing more of what they have been doing. They should unlock more supply chain in India. They should, another thing always is that this industry is always a little, a little worried, right? Because if you get into a new supplier, would the supplier will deliver, not deliver? So as long as they give opportunities, put bets on good manufacturers and suppliers, I think it will only go better from here.
Got it. Just last question. What would be your suggestions to a company or a person who is getting into aerospace component manufacturing? Let's assume someone is doing a automotive component manufacturing. Now he sees a huge opportunity in aerospace and he wants to start. It's a small company. What would be your suggestions, like checkpoint that you would ask him to check?
So first, I think two, three things, right? First, it is a hard business to get into, and one just should be ready for it.
Right.
Because if you have, there are high entry barriers, and for right reasons, right? For legacy reasons, for the safety criticality and the quality criticality that it says. So first of all, you have to be prepared. And I mean, the aerospace manufacturing, Nishant, yes, may be using CNC machines, but the dynamics of that versus automotive manufacturing are very, very different, right? If you see in terms of the kind of materials that are used, you use,
Yeah.
apart from aluminum, you use titanium, you use Inconel, you use hardened steel. So very, very different kind of materials are used. The tolerances, are in 1,000 microns versus millimeters, in automotive. So that completely changes the game in terms of, and the kind of documentation, traceability, the compliances that are needed are of 10x level than it might be probably needed in any other industry. So one is that one has to understand it's a tough industry to get in, and it's just preparation, right, in your mind, so that you don't take anything for granted. The second thing is that you need to be obsessed about quality, uh, and then it's not, and you can't be selective. I mean, you have to think of quality as a system, and
Right.
unless you are able to do that and your team is able to do that, it would be very difficult to in a way win in the long term. You may have some here and there wins, but in the long term, it is extremely important. And the third part of it is that there is immense opportunity, and it is all these things are worth trying to do. So yes,
Okay.
there are these challenges, but the opportunities are significant, and the light at the end of the tunnel is very bright. So yes, we'll have to pass through it, we will have to put in the hard effort to achieve it, but there is amazing opportunity out there.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Vishal. Thanks for sharing all your experiences with us. And I'm sure we discussed about, India's position in the aerospace part, manufacturing and the supply chain, the policies needed, the skill needed, and your suggestions to the companies who are getting into aerospace industry. Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you, and stay tuned for the next episode.
No,
Thank
no,
you so
thank
much.
you, Nishant, so much. Had a great conversation and really appreciate this opportunity.